just what are your plans for the off season and possibly playing or just doing individual workouts?
Yeah, I mean, probably take a little bit of a break here, just for maybe a week. I don't really want to lose a ton of the stuff I've worked on, and just trying to get my body back to full health.
The ink is finally dry, and the announcement has sent shockwaves through the entire basketball world, effectively rewriting the playbook for how superstar athletes manage their careers. While the WNBA front office was busy patting itself on the back for a record-breaking season, Caitlin Clark was making moves in the shadows that would leave the league scrambling for relevance and gasping for air. We all knew something big was coming during the off-season. Rumors were flying about where she would end up. Would she join the new unrivaled league? Would she go overseas to chase a massive paycheck in Europe? Or would she simply disappear to rest after playing non-stop for 2 years? Well, the answer is officially here, and it's the absolute worst-case scenario for the jealous veterans and the WNBA commissioner who tried to keep her in a box. Caitlin Clark has officially joined the NBA on NBC. You heard that right. She isn't just a WNBA player anymore. She is now a strategic partner with the biggest media machine in sports history, joining forces with the NBA to bring basketball back to NBC. This isn't just a guest appearance or a one-off interview. Reports confirm she's stepping into a role that places her shoulder to shoulder with legends like Vince Carter and Carmelo Anthony. And while fans are celebrating this massive crossover, one group is absolutely seething behind closed doors: the WNBA leadership. Commissioner Cathy Engelbert and the old guard of the league have effectively lost control of their biggest asset, and the timing couldn't be more disrespectful if she tried. It's a seismic shift that signals the beginning of a new era, one where the player holds more power than the league itself. But to understand why this move reportedly has the WNBA commissioner furious, you have to look at what happened just days before the announcement dropped. The league was desperate to keep Clark within their ecosystem during the winter. They needed her to boost ratings for new projects. Instead, she ghosted them. She turned down their offers, cited injuries, and then immediately signed a deal to work with the men's league. It's the ultimate power move, a declaration that she's bigger than the WNBA, and quite frankly, she doesn't need them to stay relevant. The jealousy is palpable, the panic is real, and the fallout from this decision is going to change women's basketball forever. This isn't just a contract. It's a rebellion against a system that tried to suppress her stardom in the name of fairness. So what does this NBC deal actually look like? Why is it paying her more in a few nights than the WNBA paid her for an entire season? Why are veterans claiming it's a slap in the face to the women's game? And what did Commissioner Engelbert allegedly say in private that pushed Clark to make this jump? Buckle up, because we're about to expose the truth behind the biggest betrayal in WNBA history and dissect exactly how Caitlin Clark outsmarted the very people who refused to protect her. Let's dive into the details of this groundbreaking partnership to understand the magnitude of what just happened. NBC is preparing to bring back the NBA in a major way, reviving the nostalgia of the 90s with its iconic roundball rock theme and a production budget that makes the WNBA's current setup look like a high school broadcast. They needed a face for this new era, someone who could bridge the gap between the Michael Jordan generation and the TikTok generation. They didn't choose LeBron James. They didn't choose Steph Curry. They chose Caitlin Clark. Reports indicate Clark will serve as a special contributor for NBA on NBC's Basketball Night in America, appearing on marquee matchups, including games at Madison Square Garden and potentially All-Star Weekend. This is a strategic masterclass from Clark's team. By aligning herself with the NBA on NBC, she's positioning herself not just as a female basketball player, but as a basketball ambassador, period. She's stepping out of the WNBA niche and entering the mainstream global conversation, effectively telling the world her basketball IQ is on par with the greatest players to ever play the game. But here's the kicker: the money. While exact figures are under wraps, insiders suggest her compensation for these appearances likely dwarfs her entire WNBA rookie salary. She was paid roughly $76,000 to carry the league on her back for 4 months. NBC is undoubtedly paying her millions for her likeness, commentary, and presence. This financial disparity is exactly why the WNBA front office is panicking. How can they negotiate with a player who makes 50 times her salary from a network that broadcasts the men's league? It completely destroys the WNBA's leverage. Commissioner Engelbert has spent the last year trying to convince the world that the WNBA is a lucrative business that treats its players well. But when your biggest star has to go to the NBA's broadcast partner to get paid what she's worth, it exposes the cracks in the foundation. It proves the Clark economy is real, but the WNBA isn't the one profiting from it anymore. Clark is. She has effectively unionized herself, creating a one-woman corporation that operates independently of the league's restrictive salary caps. But the money isn't the only reason this deal has people upset. It's the timing. This announcement comes right on the heels of the drama surrounding the Unrivaled League. For those who don't know, Unrivaled is the new 3-on-3 league founded by WNBA stars Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. The entire selling point of this league was keeping WNBA players in America during the off-season, paying them six-figure salaries so they wouldn't have to go to Russia or China. Everyone, and I mean everyone, expected Caitlin Clark to be the face of Unrivaled. League organizers reportedly held a spot open for her until the very last minute, practically begging her to join. They knew that without Clark, their viewership numbers would be a fraction of what they could be. They built the marketing strategy around a ghost, hoping she would materialize. And what did Caitlin do? She said no. Her camp released statements citing the need for rest, recovery from injuries, and a desire to step away from the court. Fans were disappointed but understood. After all, she had been playing non-stop for a year, going straight from the NCAA tournament to the WNBA draft to the regular season. But then, boom, the NBC news drops. It turns out she wasn't too tired to work. She was just too tired to work for them. She chose to pivot into a broadcasting and ambassador role with the NBA rather than grinding through 3-on-3 games in Miami with the same women who spent the last season bullying her on the court. You can imagine the group chats among WNBA veterans right now. The jealousy is likely off the charts. Players like Stewart and Collier put their reputations on the line to build Unrivaled, banking on the idea that women support women. By bypassing their league to join the NBA's media machine, Clark sent a silent but deadly message: she prefers the brotherhood of the NBA over the sisterhood of the WNBA. And honestly, can you blame her? After the way she was treated during her rookie season, the hard fouls, the eye rolls, the constant media shade from legends like Cheryl Swoops, why would she want to spend her off-season trapped in a hotel with those same people? It would be like asking a student to spend summer vacation at a camp run by their bullies. This brings us to the reaction of Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. Sources inside the league office suggest Engelbert is furious and embarrassed by this development. The commissioner has been under fire for months regarding her handling of the Clark effect. She was criticized for not protecting Clark enough from physical play, then criticized by players for not shutting down toxic discourse from parts of the fan base. She's been walking a tightrope trying to please everyone and ending up pleasing no one. Her leadership has been defined by a reactive rather than proactive approach, and this NBC deal is the ultimate sign she was asleep at the wheel. Now she has to deal with the optics of her league's savior actively promoting the competition. Yes, the WNBA and NBA are partners, but make no mistake, they fight for the same eyeballs. If Clark is on NBC talking about the Lakers and the Knicks, she isn't talking about the Fever or the Liberty. She's driving traffic to the men's game. Engelbert reportedly feels the league made Clark by giving her the platform to become a professional, and that she should be more loyal to the women's ecosystem. This is a classic case of an employer feeling entitled to an employee's loyalty without offering the compensation or environment to justify it. A leaked report recently involved comments Engelbert allegedly made to players suggesting they should be grateful for the opportunities the league provides. That be grateful attitude is exactly what has driven a wedge between the front office and the stars. Clark's move to NBC is a direct rejection of that mindset. She doesn't need to be grateful for a $76,000 salary, she creates her own economy. By joining NBC, she's showing Engelbert she holds the cards. If the WNBA doesn't fix its collective bargaining agreement and start paying players real money, the stars may simply become media personalities who play basketball as a side act. And let's talk about the jealousy factor again, because it cannot be overstated. Throughout the season we saw veterans taking shots at Clark, both literally and metaphorically. We saw Kennedy Carter's cheap shot that teammates cheered. We saw Angel Reese celebrating when Clark got knocked down. There was a prevailing narrative among the old guard that Clark was just hype, a product of pretty privilege and media bias. They wanted her to pay her dues, sit down, be quiet, and wait her turn. Well, she paid them. She broke the assist record, the rookie scoring record, and led her team to the playoffs. Now she's reaping rewards those veterans have chased for decades. It has to sting for a player who's been in the league 10 years to see a rookie getting primetime NBC slots sitting next to Vince Carter while they struggle to secure a local TV deal for off-season games. This NBC deal legitimizes Clark in a way the WNBA never could. It puts her in the conversation with the big boys. It confirms what her fans have known all along: she's a generational talent who transcends gender. NBA players, unlike many WNBA veterans, have embraced Clark with open arms. LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant have all praised her game, defended her against the hate, and welcomed her into the basketball fraternity. This NBC partnership is an extension of that. The NBA understands marketing. They understand that stars drive the league. They don't try to humble their rookies, they strap a rocket to their backs and launch them into the stratosphere. Clark is clearly more comfortable in that environment where her talent is celebrated rather than resented. When Stephen Curry talks about Caitlin Clark, he talks about her range and gravity on the court. When some WNBA legends talk about her, they talk about her fans or her reality check. The contrast is night and day. But that's not the whole story. There's a deeper layer to this NBC deal suggesting this is just the beginning of a massive shift in sports media. Reports are circulating that this special contributor role could evolve into something much larger: potential documentaries, a permanent analyst chair, or even a Manningcast-style broadcast where Clark breaks down games in real time. NBC is betting its future on her. They just paid billions for NBA rights, and they are using a WNBA star to anchor the next era. Player to sell it. That is unprecedented. It's a marketing pivot that acknowledges Caitlin Clark is more famous than 95% of the current NBA roster. It raises a serious question about the future of the WNBA's own media rights. The league recently signed a massive deal largely due to the valuation spike Clark created. But if Clark spends her off time building a brand with NBC, will she eventually outgrow the WNBA entirely? It sounds crazy, but think about it. If she makes $10 million a year from NBC and endorsements, and only a fraction of that from playing for the Fever, at what point does the risk of injury become too high? At what point does she pull a Serena Williams or Tiger Woods move, playing a limited schedule or focusing entirely on her global brand? The WNBA assumes she needs them to play basketball, but she can play basketball anywhere. Exhibition matches, charity events, international tours, she could probably make more than she does in the WNBA. This is the nightmare scenario for Kathy Engelbert. The WNBA needs Caitlin Clark on the court every single night to sell out arenas. They cannot afford for her to become a part-time player who is more famous for TV work than her layup package. This NBC announcement is a warning shot. It tells the league, I have options. It forces the league to look in the mirror and ask if it's doing enough to keep its biggest star happy. And based on the last 6 months, the answer is a resounding no. Furthermore, the reaction from the WNBA fan base has been mixed. Clark stans are ecstatic, seeing this as the ultimate vindication for their queen. They love seeing her get the bag and the respect she deserves. But traditional WNBA purists, the ones who've been watching since 1997, are skeptical. They see it as a distraction. They worry the NBA is co-opting the biggest star in women's basketball to sell the men's game. They are angry the spotlight is shifting from the court to the broadcast booth. They feel Clark should be using her off-season to sharpen her defense or mid-range game, not rubbing elbows with TV executives. But let's be real, this is business. And Caitlin Clark is a business mogul in the making. She watched how Michael Jordan used NBC to become a global icon. She watched Tom Brady sign a massive broadcasting deal before even retiring. She's following the blueprint of the greatest athletes of all time. The WNBA wanted her to be a team player and lift the league at her own expense. She decided to lift herself. And in doing so, she might just drag the WNBA into relevance whether they like it or not. She's teaching the league a lesson in value. If you don't appreciate the asset will appreciate elsewhere. The tension will be incredibly high when the next WNBA season tips off. Imagine the press conferences. Every reporter asking Engelbert about Clark's NBC gig. Every player asked if they're jealous of her contributor status. It creates a circus the league is ill-equipped to handle. And if Clark shows up to training camp wearing NBC gear, the internet might actually break. The locker room dynamics were already fragile, this could shatter them completely. How does a coach discipline a player who effectively controls the media cycle? We also have to consider the unrivaled fallout. By the time the WNBA season starts, we'll know whether the unrivaled league was a success or a failure. If it flops without Clark, resentment toward her will only grow. Players who invested their own money will blame her. If only Caitlin had played, we would have gotten the TV deal we wanted. You can already hear the excuses. But the reality is Clark doesn't owe them anything. She owes it to herself to maximize her window. And right now, the view from the NBC booth looks a lot better than the view from a 3-on-3 court in Miami. She recognized Unrivaled was built to benefit the collective, while NBC is built to benefit the individual, and lately, the collective hasn't been very kind to her. And what happened next could shock everyone even more. Rumors are swirling that NBC is planning to give Clark her own segment specifically designed to highlight the Clark effect, where she breaks down differences between NBA and WNBA games. If she uses that platform to critique the physical play she faced or call out officiating, she'll have a microphone louder than the commissioners. She could effectively control the narrative of the entire WNBA season from an NBC studio. That is a level of power no WNBA player has ever had. It turns the tables completely. Usually, the commissioner holds the power, they fine players for speaking out, they control the press releases. But now, the spotlight, and possibly the narrative, might belong to Caitlin Clark.